Hey everybody, it's Ben with the Herbstead, and today it's 60 degrees. It's a week before Thanksgiving, and I am going to close up the hive for the winter. What I'm doing is first, I'm opening up the hive to make sure nothing looks amiss. I took off the top layer as well as the cap, and everything kind of looked quiet. I didn't see any bees at all, which is fine, normal. I didn't see any bees coming in and out of the hive itself. And then I busted off the feeder as well, and that's when I started seeing some activity, which is great. That's what I want to see. Now, you'll also notice behind me that the honey super is already off, and I have it sitting over here on the ground. I wanted to go through and spot check and see, just to make sure there's no brood on those frames, because then I would be worried about the queen actually being in that part of the hive, and I don't want to risk losing another queen. You know how that went. You probably noticed that the bees are way less active. Well, it's probably because it's been pretty cold. I'm still a little shocked that they're kind of getting after me still. I'm not totally sure what that is, and maybe that's just I didn't notice it before, and the bees have always done this, but they have definitely not been swarming me today like they used to in the past few videos you watched. So I want to point out something here. All I have is the two hive boxes, the deep hive boxes. My goal here today is to leave just these two and leave the hive be. I'm going to close it up, and I want to make the internal space that the bees have to warm up to be as small a volume as I can, while still maintaining that they have all of their frames. So in that vein, I'm going to be removing the honey super, as largely it's just a bunch of dead space. I looked through some of the frames and there is a little bit of honey, but the whole honey super itself is really not that heavy. So I don't think that it'll be a detrimental loss to them to lose that excess honey. Whereas these two boxes down here, they feel pretty heavy. So I'm confident that this is really I'm confident that these two are the only thing that they really need to get through the winter. That being said, the most dangerous thing for your bees in winter is not the deep, deep, deep cold. It is the large swings in temperature. Yes, if it's super, super cold and your hive does freeze, they're going to die. Okay, that's granted. But that is less likely to happen compared to a day that's, say, 30 degrees or 50 degrees in the air, and then all of a sudden at night it's -10. That sort of cold shock is way more likely to actually put your hive under than just having steady cold weather. What's happening inside the hive is that the bees will try to maintain a constant temperature and humidity throughout the year, which is really amazing. Bees will warm up a space just by vibrating, and if they get all in a big clump, they all vibrate together. The bees on the inside of that clump can survive. When it is hotter outside, the bees will internally spread out in the hive so that they don't overheat. Well, what happens is, instead of being in a nice ball shape to concentrate that warmth on the queen and on the inner parts of the hive, is they'll have a warm day where they all fan out, try to cool down the interior temperature of the hive, and then that night the temperature drops so fast that they aren't able to get back together in that ball. Well, that's what leads to the death of a hive. All the bees get kind of stuck where they are on the frames, and they're not able to act quick enough to raise the internal temperature. My goal to stop that, and you saw that last year, is I'm going to be reusing this styrofoam back here. Now, my plan is not to put that on right now. Julia made a good point. If I put that on too early, what I'm doing is I'm actually creating a safe harbor for other bugs to have a warm space. Until it gets really, really cold and we have like a long spree of cold nights, I don't actually want to put that on, just in case I'm inviting other bugs to live on the outside of the hive. Basically, it's a beehive. I want it to just be solely bees. So I'm going to wait till all the other bugs are either dead or they're hibernating or whatever they do in the winter. I'm not really sure what most bugs do in the winter, but that's beside the point. Anyways, What I do know is I want to focus on the bees' health during the winter. So that's the plan. I'm going to wait for a while until it gets much colder. I'm going to throw the styrofoam on. The other thing about adding the styrofoam is I don't really... the reason I feel safe waiting with the styrofoam is that where we are living, we don't actually get a whole lot of cold snaps on this side of winter. Primarily, we get our cold snaps in early spring where everyone thinks, wow, this is great. We're wearing t-shirts or small jackets and we're loving it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, just kidding. Winter's still here. Excuse me. And 15 degrees below zero happens at night. Anyways, that's when it's really critical. So I have some time until I can put the styrofoam on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set you down next to this honey super over here, and I'm gonna try and smoke it and encourage some of the bees to just evacuate that area and hopefully get their way back to the hive proper. Okay, so this is basically cleared off. There's a couple bees left, but they're really kind of just, I don't know, hanging out, chilling. So I'm not super mad about it. I do see one with a stinger that got cut off, or that got stuck. Oh, poor guy. The guy stung the hive. So I'm sure that was in a little bit of a fright as I smoked him out. But here we are. So this is all kind of cleared out. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside so that the rest of the bees can kind of chill out and maybe work their way back to the hive. My goal then is to take basically any of these frames that do have a good amount of honey. We're probably going to harvest that. But for the most part, we're going to let this be because it's got a bunch of filled out frames, which I think is going to be an excellent start to next year's honey harvest. If we can put out a honey super at the beginning of the year that's already built up with honeycomb, what it's going to mean is that the bees will have to do less work and convert less sugar into wax, and instead just put that sugar right into these cells and make us some more honey. So I'm really happy with where this is at. I'm happy with how the hive looks. So let me set this aside and then let's go back and we'll close up the hive and we'll say good night and goodbye to all the ladies that are doing this hard work. All right, go ahead and just smoke these things. I'm sure there's nothing left on them, and then there they are. Here's the girls. You can see just now that I've gotten within 2 feet of the hive, the guards have all just popped right out at me. So this is a good thing. This is how it's supposed to be. These should be checking me out. And I appreciate the fact that while I was 10 feet away over here, after a little bit of time, these guards just kind of left me alone. Now, you remember a while ago, I did a bee check and the bees followed me for 50 minutes. They were upset and they probably were very unhealthy. But look, I'm almost bee free right now, which is incredible. And I actually didn't know was gonna happen ever again. So I'm really happy about that. That being said, I want to get back in here. I want to put the lid on after looking around a tiny bit and then be done. It's like a proximity sensor. It's wild. Now before we go, I'm just kind of peeking in here, and if you can see, wow, they hate this camera. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the camera. Wow. They are livid. Wow. Okay. I'm sensing it's actually the camera more than anything. So anyways, I'm gonna peek you in there. I'm gonna put the camera down low and you can kind of peek in and see that there's a lot of what looks like capped honey. There needs to be. And so I'm encouraged to see that. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna stick you in there and see if these bees will give you enough opportunity to see past them. It's all you can really see is just the top little edge there, right in here. That looks like some really good capped honey, and I'm seeing that on almost every frame here, which is great. I'm pretty positive that it actually has to do with the camera that they're so upset with. If you don't remember a few videos ago, wait. Okay, so audibly I can hear now there are less bees around my head. There are still a ton of bees right around this camera. And there's already 2 stingers out. 3 stingers. So you can tell just with a simple proximity change. I took 1 step back, this is 2 steps, and the threat range is left. So wow, 4 or 5 stingers on the camera. Oh, poor guy. Oh man, this is sad. I'm watching a bee who's, oh, that is so sad. Do you see the bee that's in between my fingers here? Look at this poor guy. You see those guts hanging out? So I witnessed him, he stung the camera, and like a leash around his butt, he tried to fly off of the camera, and he made it about an inch. You can see how long that thing is. He stretched that thing out to be about double as the length. So sad. All right, I need to wrap this up, or else these guys are just gonna be absolutely livid at this camera. Not at me, which is wonderful to see. Sorry, guy. Hey, closing you up, ladies. So I got the top cap on. Yeah, all right. Gonna close it. Trying not to squish them as much as possible. This is one part of beekeeping that I don't understand. Maybe other people just know that there's casualties. You just have to squish so many bees just by putting stuff down. Okay. I want to make sure this is pretty square and, touching all the way, because I don't want to give bugs any more excuse to be able to come out. All right, it's got to come off. Yep, now they're really mad. Woo! Now they're super mad. All right, I'm gonna need to scrape this. Unfortunate. It's got to be done. Okay. Now we're good. Good night, girls. Okay. So another fun observation, when I got the cover down, the first cover, I could tell that the bees were calming down, which is good. Once I put on the second cover here at the top, the bees have quieted down yet another level, which I've never actually noticed. So I think that's a good thing. When I say that's good, I guess I don't actually know for sure. But I think it's good. And it makes me happy because that means the bees are actually less ticked off than they sound. They're absolutely livid, and I'm trying to figure out a word to use. They're covering the camera still, and there's just stingers everywhere. So they are not happy. But they're not really covering me anymore. There's like 3, so that's good. All right. So I'm Ben. This is the Herbstead, and if you have a beehive, you will do something similar to this every winter to prepare your beehive as best as you can to hopefully survive the cold of the winter as well as the cold snaps as usually found in spring, at least for me. If you don't deal with cold weather, then your beekeeping experience is vastly different than mine, and that's okay. If you're interested in starting bees, don't let things like them surviving through the winter be something that keeps you from getting bees. I have friends who have lost bees over the winter, and yeah, that's not great, but we learn, we grow, and we hopefully get better the next time. And I would absolutely recommend it is worth losing a hive or 2 if you have to learn how to do it well, simply because the beekeeping itself is such a joy. If you don't like bees, maybe not for you, but I'm kind of enjoying them. And even if they're really upset often at me, I've grown fond of them. All right, well, thank you guys for coming around. I'm gonna go walk these bees off a little bit, maybe smoke myself up, and hopefully they calm down much faster than they did last time, and we'll call it a day. If you liked what you saw, leave a comment. If you see anything that was a rookie move and you know better, please share, because I am a rookie and I would love to hear from experts. Regardless, leave a like. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can keep up on all of the videos that we try to put out here at the Herbstead about starting an urban homestead in the middle of one of the fastest growing cities in the country and what that looks like. And it's been fun. So thank you. And as always, grow on.